Coming up on Tech News Today, Twitter angers the internet with its new blocking policy. Did they change their mind? Also, Google making noises about taking on Intel in chip manufacturing, or at least chip designing. And Gmail is stealing all your email images. Kind of. I'll tell you what it means next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, December 13th, 2013. What? Tech News Today is brought to you by Shutterstock.com. With over 28 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 25% off your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use offer code TNT1213. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Isaac.
And I'm Jason Voorhees.
It really is. This is the show where we take a look at the most important stories in the tech world, put them in some context for you, starting with the top 10 stories of the day in the News Fuse. Twitter changed its policy for blocking accounts yesterday, then quickly changed it back. The new policy would have allowed blocked users to continue to see and interact with the accounts that blocked them. However, it was supposed to be a fancy way of hiding the fact that they had been blocked. After a backlash of anger against the policy change, Twitter decided to revert back to the original policy and said on a blog post that they would continue to explore features designed to protect users from abuse and prevent retaliation.
Watch out, Intel. Here comes Google. An anonymous source tells Bloomberg that Google's considering designing its own ARM server processors. Intel currently controls more than 95% of the market for chips in servers that use PC processors. But by using its own designs, Google could control interactions between hardware and software more effectively. And Google is currently Intel's 5th largest customer. Makes it a little bit more interesting. That's according to Bloomberg's supply chain analysis, and spends at least $500 million on Intel server chips each year.
Microsoft's been mulling over its next CEO for a while, but it's not going to be Steve Mollenkopf because he's going to head up Qualcomm as its CEO. Mollenkopf, who has a very difficult name for me to pronounce, was the COO of Qualcomm, and a Bloomberg report pegged him as a potential replacement for Steve Ballmer. Mollenkopf replaces Paul Jacobs as CEO. Jacobs will become the chairman of Qualcomm.
The U.S. FCC voted on Thursday to launch a public review of the ban of the use of mobile phones during airplane flights. For 22 years, phone calls have been banned on planes to prevent interference with ground-based cellular communication. However, those technological issues have largely been resolved. The social issue of hearing someone talking on a phone on a plane is not the province of the FCC, but is the area of another U.S. agency. The U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary Anthony Fox said his agency might institute its own ban under its authority to protect aviation customers and workers.
A new study from web security firm Incapsula finds that over 60% of all internet traffic now comes from bots. That's automated software, which includes hacking tools, spammers, and search engine catalogers. And that's up 21% from 2012. 31% of bots are malicious, according to the study. But there's a little good news, at least. Spam bots decreased from 2% of internet traffic last year to 0.5% in 2013.
The Pirate Bay played domain switching game this week and has wound up in Peru at the piratebay.pe. A Pirate Bay spokesperson told Torrent Freak that a new system being developed will make domain names irrelevant and will lead to a rise in file sharing services. The new system is a BitTorrent-powered browser that will let users share files without hosting the file on a central server.
Google announced a change to the way its Gmail client will show images in incoming email messages. Instead of fetching the image directly from the server referenced in the message, Google will now cache the image on a server using its own secure proxy servers. There's some debate over how this might affect email marketers who put small images in email in order to track open rates. It seems the tracking might still work and maybe even be more accurate, but metadata like IP addresses, which lead to things like geolocation, would no longer work.
Aereo, the TV streaming service that uses remote miniature antennas to pull free over-the-air signals from broadcast networks like Fox, ABC, and NBC, is headed to the Supreme Court to battle those broadcasters that oppose its business model and have asked the court to appeal decisions made by the lower circuits, which ruled overwhelmingly in Aereo's favor. Aereo has now agreed with the opposition's petition for the Supreme Court to hear the case. They're like, yeah, let's do this. If Aereo wins, any Aereo-like technology would become irrelevant, at least in court, as Aereo would be deemed nationally legal.
The new generation of game consoles in the United States is selling great, but the video games themselves aren't. NPD released its numbers for the video game market sales in November. Overall, console sales were up 80% year over year on the strength of the launch of the Sony PS4 and Xbox One. Software sales, mostly meaning games, were down 41% year over year. Sony's PS4 did outsell the Xbox One in the month of November, but it was also on sale for 1 extra week over the Xbox. NPD also noted sales of Nintendo's 3DS rose 15% year over year on the strength of the game Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds.
The FIDO Alliance lined up a new ally, and it's none other than Microsoft. Microsoft will be a part of the Alliance's board of directors. FIDO aims to bring simplicity to authentication. The Alliance's board counts Google, Lenovo, PayPal, and others as its members.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Shutterstock.com. If you're out there making a website, or maybe you're making a brochure, or maybe you're making a movie, any of those things, you need images. You need still images, and you might need some stock video too. And you might think, well, I could just go on the web and find that stuff. That's a dangerous game for a couple of reasons. One, you might not have the rights to use that stuff, and it might not be very good. That's why Shutterstock is perfect. You can choose from over 28 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips. Use their amazing search engine to drill right down to the subject you need, the color you need. You can search by color, file type, gender, emotion, and more. And then you get the convenience of putting them in Shutterstock's Lightbox. And then you can look over the stuff that you like and pick the ones that you really need. You can even share that Lightbox with people and collaborate on the project. All of that you can do for free. That's just the searching and the collaboration. All of that stuff, you don't have to give them a credit card to do any of that stuff. If, however, you do want to buy one of the images, they've got great prices. You can choose individual image packs or a monthly subscription for the best deal. You can download up to 25 images a day with the standard subscription. And you can download any image in any size. You pay only one price. They've got an award-winning iPad app, too, so you can search on the go, multilingual customer service, and they're adding 20,000 images a day. They review every one of those images to make sure they're quality, and then they keep that catalog growing. I've used it to create a book trailer for one of my books. I've used it for my blog. You can try Shutterstock today by signing up for a free account, no credit card needed. Just start an account, begin using Shutterstock to help imagine what your next project could be like, and save favorite images to a Lightbox to review later. Once you decide to purchase, use offer code TNT1213, and new accounts will receive 25% off any package. That's Shutterstock.com for 25% off new accounts. Use this offer code TNT1213. We thank Shutterstock for their support of Tech News Today. All right, well, it's Friday, which means we have Darren Kitchen, host of Hack 5, with us today. He's actually upstairs. How's it going, Darren?
Yes, well, it's not just any Friday. It's Friday the 13th, so I'm in your house.
Whoa! It's coming from inside the house. And to draw the spookiness of all of this, this scary nightmare before Christmas, is Len Peralta with us again to draw the stories today. How's it going, Len?
It's going great. And I just want to take a few seconds before I start drawing. I missed last week's show, and I missed all the big hubbub about you leaving Twit. Just want to say I'm sorry to hear the news, but I'm excited to see what you're going to do next. So that's all I wanted to say.
I appreciate that. Let's get into the stories of the day, starting with Twitter reverting that policy on blocking users. Now, here's why they did it. What they did was they said, look, right now when you block a user, that user can no longer see your Twitter stream. And therefore, they notice that they've been blocked. Now, they can see your Twitter stream when they're logged out, but when they're logged in, where they could do things like retweet or favorite, they wouldn't see your Twitter stream. So yesterday, they changed that policy to say, now, when you block a user, even when they're logged in, they'll still see your Twitter stream so that they don't know that you blocked them. And the idea was that would prevent retaliation. right? Well, a bunch of people responded to this saying, no, when I block someone, I don't want them to see my Twitter stream, at least not easily while they're logged in. I don't want them retweeting things. I don't want them favoriting things. Please put this back. Twitter, very remarkably for a company like this, gathered the executives for a quick meeting, according to Reuters, and changed the policy back within the same day. Said, we're rolling it back, and we're going to take some time to review it. Maybe they would come out with some other options that would allow you to do something like that in the future, but they're going to be careful about that. Darren, what should Twitter's policy be, do you think?
Well, I mean, Twitter already has a great way to handle this. If you don't want people to see your tweets, you can make your timeline private. The idea that, that Twitter somehow needs to come up with a technological solution for a social problem, I don't think is the case. I mean, you know, they could always open an incognito window, use a different browser, and see your timeline. So I feel like, you know, one of the older social networks has already had this figured out for ages, and that's IRC, where you can just type in /ignore.
I feel like turning your Twitter profile private is, yeah, sure. I mean, that's a way to keep somebody from reading your tweets, but it shouldn't have to be that way. You shouldn't have to turn it off to everybody just because maybe there's a few people or a handful of people or one person that's bugging you. However, to be able to log out and still see someone's tweet stream, which is the way that blocking has worked in the past, that's not really blocking at all. Yeah, you're not going to see maybe responses in your @reply lists, but it's not, the blocking has never actually worked well. I feel like when I block somebody, I don't want them to have any access to anything that I say. I don't want them to be able to hit my profile. I don't want them to be able to see anything. I don't want them to follow me. I don't really think when someone's blocked, the big issue is that they're favoriting your stuff. It's that they know where you are and what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I've blocked my fair share of people on Twitter. I know that they can easily go around that and look at my tweets otherwise. I think it's just for my own sake. It's like, I don't want to see their @replies, or I don't want to see what they're writing to me. So I don't know if stopping them from seeing what I'm writing is going to make a difference. Because if they're just going to, publish a bunch of hate, I just don't want to see it, because I can't stop people from writing things. So I can't really also stop them from seeing things. So they can do what they want. As long as I'm not being impacted, that's really what I'm concerned about. But if people can look at my tweets, that's the nature of Twitter right now.
Well, if you're very concerned, you can make your Twitter stream private and only allow those you approve to see it, so no one that's not logged in, there's no workaround for that, right? That's the most extreme version, and people can and should do that. The current blocking system is another way to say, like, look, I know you can go around on the web, but I really don't want you to have an easy way to look at it, and I don't want you commenting or retweeting what I say. I just don't like that. But what I think Twitter has identified correctly is that there is also the need for I want to block this person so I don't see them anymore, but I don't care. I don't want them to know that I blocked them. And that's mute. So I don't see why they couldn't put in a mute function here that says, I don't mind if they continue to see my posts, but I don't want to see theirs. And then the next level is the current blocking system, and the level after that would be a private stream.
Yeah, I mean, mute functionality is something that I use very liberally with Tweetbot, which of course is a third-party app, but it does muting really well. But that won't mute somebody who @replies to you. So there is sort of this gray area that I see what Twitter's going for, where it's like somebody is harassing you, maybe to have some sort of like a flashing banner that says you've been blocked. In essence, is not contributing to a solution. At the same time, people who have legitimately been harassed say anything that rolls back on the power I had before over people that I wanted to block is a bad thing.
All right, let's talk about some chip battle that might be looming on the horizon, Ayaz. It sounds like Google is making noises about making their own chips.
Yes. So Bloomberg has that report saying Google's considering designing its own server processors based on the ARM architecture. Intel right now has got 95% of that market in servers. Analyst Patrick Wang of Evercore Partners speculates that a shift by Google to ARM could lead other companies like Facebook and Amazon to consider the same kind of thing. Liz Markman of Google, she's a spokesperson, gave a statement to Bloomberg saying, "We are actively engaged in designing the world's best infrastructure. This includes both hardware design at all levels and software design." But she didn't say whether the company would develop its own chips. Google is Intel's 5th largest customer, as Sarah noted, according to Bloomberg's supply chain analysis. Darren, do you think this is like a negotiation ploy by Google, or do you think Google would actually go ahead and make their own servers with their own chips?
I mean, it could absolutely be either, or it could be both. Right now, it gets cheaper, complex chips from Intel right now while you roll your own. If want anything, like the whole notion of if anyone is capable of doing this, though, I would definitely hand it to Google to be able to roll their own. And I feel like they have learned enough in this market, and they've actually kind of, owned this as far as like ARM processors are concerned. Like, these reduced instruction set computing devices are in all of our pockets. The dream of the 90s is alive, and it's in your pocket right now. So, RISC will change everything, whether Intel can continue to stave that off with money as they have for the last 20 years. We'll see. Google definitely has the pockets to be able to do this, and the engineers to be able to do this. I would love to see, a totally new server architecture with, instead of, 4 or 8 complex processors, hundreds of little ARM processors, just as we've seen big changes in the way that people use, say, graphics cards to do accelerated computing in some circumstances. There's no reason why somebody as big as Google couldn't, put their weight behind this and make it happen. So that's my hopeful side.
Yeah, when Google started making their own search engine hardware for servers, and I remember at CNET we had one in the server room there, people started to make these same noises that they're making over this rumor, which is, oh, what if Google just starts to take over the world? What if they take over, start making more servers? This is the thin edge of the wedge. I think that what Google's doing here is just a very plain and simple cost-benefit analysis. And there might be some negotiating ploy involved in that, which is part of cost-benefit analysis. But they're trying to say, look, we need enough of these chips. It might make more financial sense for us to just hire a designer and make them ourselves and farm them out to a fab to be printed for us instead of buying them, And so it's up to Intel and ARM to come in and say, we will make you an offer you can't refuse so that you don't do that, because we know that that's costly. What could happen down the road, nobody knows, right? I don't think the motivation here is that Google thinks, oh, and then we'll start selling chips to other people, although they could. If they got good at it and they realized these are really good chips, we need to sell them to other people.
I love how just the idea that Google could do something like this, and the fact that because Google is such a big company, has money, knows what it's doing, that there's a lot of weight carried with a rumor like this, that then it kind of turns into, okay, well, what's the snowball effect? I mean, can the industry sort of change just based on the idea that, hey, if Google can do this in-house, maybe we as Facebook could do this in-house as well?
Yeah, I mean, Facebook had that initiative where they're trying to have more efficient servers because obviously they need those. But when it comes to Google, they obviously have a ton of intellectual property from Motorola. And Motorola knows how to make these chips. They know what they're doing when it comes to this. So they might have an inside track when it comes to being able to make these chips even better. If we have, I mean, ARM architecture is completely licensable. There's nothing stopping Google from making their own chips. And they've been in pretty much every, like those ARM chips, like Darren mentioned, is like in every mobile device out there. For Intel to not have Google in its pocket, because obviously Intel is trying to get Google to work with it, Android on Intel as well, Chromebooks running on Intel, these kinds of things. I think this could be a negotiation ploy, but it wouldn't surprise me if Google comes out with their own servers in-house anyway.
You think it's worth the risk, Darren?
Yeah, it's absolutely worth the risk.
Let's talk about this Gmail image kerfuffle, Sarah. This is kind of hard to figure out, but and people are not even sure what it's going to mean for email marketers and what it's going to mean for us as users.
Yeah, true. So Ars Technica has an interesting write-up that what we do know is that Google says it's going to start caching all images for Gmail users. So embedded images will now be saved by Google. The email content will be modified to display images from Google's cache instead of a third-party server, as it has been for quite a while now. And part of the issue with that is when you load an image, an email marketer, Gmail will say, do you like to display images from this? And often I do, because I'm sort of like, I don't know what they're trying to sell me until I see these images. When you load the images, email marketers can find out things like where you live in general through an IP address, your HTTP refer, whether you're on a desktop app versus mobile versus web, what Gmail folder this email might have been put into. So they can get a lot of information about you. Now, if Gmail is caching all those images yourself, unless you click on a link, the marketers, in theory, should have no real idea that you've ever seen this email or anything about you. Google can automatically display images. They can kill that whole display all image button in Gmail, so you don't even really have to worry about it. And the Google servers should also be faster than a third-party image host. The new image handling is rolling out to desktop users today, and they say mobile apps in early 2014. So, it's a pretty short timeline. Ours points out this will make email advertising possibly less appealing to marketers who might spend less time on email and more money on AdSense. So it's not necessarily something that Google's doing just for the good of people. It's more of, getting control over a little bit more marketing. But the Washington Post also has a write-up that quotes the folks over at MailChimp who do a lot of email marketing that say, we track email opens by putting that tiny little single pixel-sized image in each email. They're not the only company that does this. It's very common. So the system could still allow them to track at least the first time you open an email, maybe not repeat opens. They do mention that, if Gmail changes this, it is going to cut down on being able to track people via IP address and that sort of thing. But it's not as if we're now free from the marketers knowing anything about us. Darren, you know how this stuff works. What do you think about Gmail's changes? What do you think that?
Well, I love it. It's a great thing for privacy, and it's also a huge win for Google because this means that if you want to reach Gmail users, you now have to kind of, pay some AdSense dollars to get up in their Gmail. The hacker in me is really excited about just the whole prospect that my image will just automatically be in that email and they won't have to click the show images thing. So I could actually write an image magic script to convert all of my text emails into embedded GIF files, and then AdSense wouldn't be able to scrape them for targeted ads. Unless, of course, AdSense then did OCR on the image, in which case I would have to use that CAPTCHA font, and then all of my emails would look like ransom notes. So never mind. That's probably not a great idea, but still,
well, it'd be normal.
Cool tech.
What your emails look like now. I have to say, I don't want display image on by default. I do not want that. They better not take away the ability for me to turn it off again if they turn it on. I don't want the images displayed unless I say, yeah, I trust the sender here. That is just the most secure way to do it. It's great that Google's doing this and say, to protect users who really don't understand out there, we're going to proxy the images. That's going to help the marketers because more people will be getting the images served into their email now. So they're going to have better stats than they did before. And in fact, MailJet, another one of these email marketers, said they think they can trick the thing into allowing them to serve multiple images by setting the HTTP header for transparent tracking pixels to content length equals 0. That would prevent Google from caching the image and make them call for it every time someone opens that email. So there are ways around this. Sounds like they're definitely going to lose the IP address and therefore the things around that like geolocation. But there's also some other things that are going to be beneficial for the mail marketers out there. So I don't think this is the disaster that some of these blogs seem to be implying it might be.
I just want to point out, Tom, you can still have that experience that you're talking about. You just have to SSH into your shell and then use Pine or Elm to, grab your IMAP. And you probably could get on Gopher while you're at it, too.
Yes, I probably could. That's true. Shall we talk about Pirate Bay moving off to Peru? They're jumping from domain name to domain name these days. They get a domain name, they use it for a while. Some government somewhere goes in and gets the domain name shut down, and they move on to another one. They've got a big old long list of them. They're going to keep hopping from one to the other. The folks at Torrent Freak talked to a spokesman from the Pirate Bay who said they're working on a new system that will make domain names irrelevant and spawn hardened file sharing services. A BitTorrent-powered browser would mean that there would be no need for the website. Everyone would just be able to see the listings and the indexes. There would be no central file serving, and there would be no reliance on a public-facing website. He says once that is available, then all links and sites will be accessible through a perfectly legal piece of browser software, and the rest of it will be P2P with no central point to attack via the legal system. Now, this could come standalone, and they say they're also working on plugins for Firefox and Chrome. So, Darren, is this just bluster by the Pirate Bay, or are they really pushing things down the road here?
Well, it's not just them that are pushing things down the road. And it's funny that you mentioned Firefox and Chrome plugins because, as always, Opera did it first. In 2009, Opera came out with this technology called Unite that essentially does this. In fact, even in 2011, the W3C, you know, the people that we love for the World Wide Web, their web RTC or real-time communications people came up with a working group to attack this very problem and come up with APIs for browser-to-browser communication so that this kind of decentralized peer-to-peer nature could exist. And it's kind of, there's a huge movement for this decentralized hosted stuff. It's kind of an oxymoron there, but I love it. I mean, in fact, just at DEF CON this year, I was talking to a security researcher who had used some really cool tech in HTML5 to create a distributed file system based on the browser cache from people going to the website. So just by people going to the website, they would then get a chunk of the file. It would be hashed. There would be a hash table, and they would communicate amongst each other's nodes. And you would have an ephemeral file system that if, say, the servers ever were seized, this would all disappear. So if Pirate Bay is adopting that kind of technology, that is awesome. It's also really scary for lawmakers because the privacy implications when, they have to tighten their grip, and then Star Systems, and help me out with that quote.
They slip through their fingers. Yeah.
That's the one.
Also, if you strike them down, they'll become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. No, in all seriousness, I think this shows that the internet always routes around, and this is how we get more privacy and more security. You may not like the Pirate Bay and what their aims are and what they do, but this technology, if they push it forward, is going to percolate into other areas, and you may want to use this sort of thing so that it's not easy for people to track your movements over the internet, whether you're talking about the NSA or just Facebook or Google.
Yeah, BitTorrent itself isn't illegal, so lawmakers are going to be confused about how do you stop something like this, and it's not something that should be stopped. I mean, just because
they'll outlaw web browsers. They'll be like, web browsers, they're using web browsers for piracy. We should outlaw the web browsers.
All web browsers. So we're going to have to go.
Big truck.
We're going to have to go door to door to get our internet, I guess. But yeah, it's a really interesting workaround. I love when stuff works around like this. If it does mean that you don't need to have domains anymore and Pirate Bay gets to exist, I guess that's intriguing. But they wouldn't have to exist. These files would be free and you could get anything you want based on that browser. Just intrigued when it will come out, if it comes out, and if it'll work well.
Only law-abiding citizens use Internet Explorer. Just going to put that out there.
Oh, wow.
Okay, good to know.
It's gotten better.
Are you calling me a criminal?
No, I'm joking.
You're a smooth criminal. Actually, you're on the cusp of saving money without having to own a truck to go to a warehouse store thanks to Amazon, Sarah.
Yeah, so sources tell USA Today that Amazon is working on a new product called Pantry, which is set to launch in 2014. So what is it? Well, it's a service targeted at Amazon Prime members, so if you're an existing Prime member, but also to lure other people in. And it'll launch with about 2,000 products that are very common household products for, a household with decent income. Maybe there's a few kids. Cleaning supplies, paper towels, canned goods, pet foods, cereal, beverages, that sort of thing, the staples. Amazon will let Prime shoppers put as many of these items into a set-sized box, say the sources, up to a specific weight limit. If the products fit, if they don't exceed a certain maximum weight, then Amazon will ship the box for a small fee. What this does is it competes with a business model like Costco or Sam's Club, the kind of places where you end up saving a lot by buying items, peanut butter or whatever, in big bulk. So you get a huge volume, and then in return, you get a price cut. Warehouse Club members and Amazon shoppers have a similar demographic. Like I mentioned, tend to be at least a higher income. You can spend a lot on groceries. Kids are often involved. I can see Amazon really wanting that market. Now, it's been sort of an interesting week for Amazon. They just launched Amazon Fresh in San Francisco. It was previously in New York and Los Angeles, which is almost not the antithesis of this, but focused a lot more on quality produce, stuff that's coming from local agricultural farms and that sort of thing. Now you've got the idea that Amazon would like to take on a Costco. I mean, I think it's a genius idea. Costco is not a fun place to go to, especially in a large city like San Francisco. I mean, it's crazy. You end up saving money, but everything's sort of big, and it's this warehouse feel, and it's crowded, and you got crying kids and that sort of thing. I can see a person who spends a lot of money at a place like a Costco or a Sam's Club or one of the others, loving the idea of paying just a little bit to just get it shipped to you. Darren, what do you think? Do you buy this idea?
I absolutely, I one-click buy it. In fact, just real quick, because we've been talking about Amazon for 2 minutes here, just drone. Okay, just needed to get that out there. But no, I mean, this is just epic algorithm foo. I love this because they've obviously like measured and weighed everything, and just the whole like the back end of that. I love it. It sounds really beautiful. Otherwise, what wins here and gets my dollar is, like you said, like I don't want to go to Costco because it's a mob scene. What wins is convenience, and convenience wins over privacy. It wins over security. It wins over everything, really. And Amazon's been able to provide that. So there we go.
It's hilarious.
Wins over quality.
Sarah, when you were describing the way this works, you got a set sized box. It's got a specific weight limit. It's got to all fit in the box. Don't exceed the weight. It sounded like a game to me. I'm like, ooh, this sounds like fun. Which means lots of people are going to be figuring out how to keep buying lots and lots of different things in this small, whatever box this thing's going to be. It's just, I wouldn't say it's gamifying shopping, but like I'm intrigued by it just because it sounds fun. The other thing is Amazon is going to be shipping so much stuff because people are like, wait, I have more space in this box. Because every now and then I order something, like this monstrous box, and there's something tiny, and I'm like, I could have bought more stuff.
Exactly.
You know it's not like Tetris,
It should be like Tetris.
Products aren't dropping down into the box.
That's exactly.
Although that might be the next logical step.
That's exactly the way you should be able to buy
Remote control into the factory. Drop the products in yourself, save on that little small, incremental cost of shipping.
Drop them.
Yes, exactly.
It should totally be Tetris. That's the way
gamification. If we've learned anything, if you can turn it into a game, you'll get people interested. So if Amazon had like an HTML5 thing where like suddenly like the products start dropping down and you've got your box and you got to fit them all in, and you're like, ooh, detergent, yeah, paper. Oh, I don't need paper towels, and then you like explode the paper towels and some other ones come, and you're still waiting for that really long red brick.
Yes, and actually, and on the other end of that, because you can only, you have to take some stuff out to fit as much stuff in the box as possible. It could be that lowering crane thing, that game that you get at the arcade, like pull things out. See, this is brilliant, Amazon. Good idea.
Taking this down, Bezos.
Yeah.
This is a gold mine here for you, mister.
Amazon Tetris.
All right, let's finish up our discussion section talking about the guys who brought you Guitar Hero helping you get healthy.
Yeah, so they've got this thing called Goji Play, and what it is, it's a fitness gaming device. It was announced back in July. For $100, you get a kit, 2 wireless game controllers, which both have Velcro straps. You attach them to like a bike, an exercise bike, or a treadmill, or one of those, any other device you can think of in a gym. Third piece is an activity tracker that's on you, and what this does is it interacts with games on an iOS device. The idea is so you're distracted while you're running, or if you're doing the elliptical, and you'll enjoy exercising more because you're not thinking about it. The kit works with Goji Play's library games, 12 titles so far. There are games, and there's like an app for reading things if you want to do that. You can see, if you're watching the video right now, you can see the different games that they've got going. There's like a boxing game, there's like this blocks game, all kinds of things there. Darren, what do you think? You're going to get more in shape because you're distracted playing this game from Goji Play?
No, that's the thing is if I want to work out, I have to be like motivated to work out. I'm not going to hack myself into thinking I'm actually playing a game. I feel like if you really want to combine those two, that's fine. Just get yourself a treadmill and pop your WASD and your mouse there and get your WoW on while you walk. But I'm not buying it. Sorry.
What? I think this is a great idea. I mean, this is why I like Dance Central so much. It's like you end up like dancing really hard and trying to be really good because there's the game aspect of it. It's fun. It's absolutely exercise. This is even more, hey, we just want to motivate you to exercise. I have the problem that I'm extremely bored when exercising, so I watch like junk television on my iPad or whatever that makes me feel like I get a little bit of a treat for doing something that's good for my body. If you have even more of a reason to just be distracted from the fact that you're on a treadmill because you're trying to, score a certain amount of points or beat your friend or something, I love that idea. It's making it fun.
I looked at this and I thought, okay, how is this better than an Oculus Rift with that treadmill thing that pairs up with it, or how is this better than Dance Central, until it said that one of the things this could do is allow you to like turn a page in an ebook or control your iPad or your Nexus device without having to reach for it and swipe. So if you are on an elliptical or a treadmill, you don't have to do that goofy like, I'm trying to turn the thing, but I'm moving all around. That alone, I think, recommends this thing to me.
You know, I did this a long time ago. In my basement in New York, I had a treadmill. I put an Xbox there, and I played Guitar Hero while running, which is the dumbest thing in the world. And there's video of that, by the way, of me doing that.
These guys got their idea.
What?
Yeah, seriously. I was so distracted because I wanted to play guitar or play Street Fighter 4.
How do you run without the use of your arms?
It's like being a rock star. Like, I mean, if you could play guitar while running around, what's the big deal? If you think
I don't
about
know any rock stars who run while they play guitar.
Have you ever watched like a concert? They're running around all the time.
They
And they're
move from side to side of the stage. They're not like jogging.
It can be done, is what I'm saying. I mean, you're basically like, it's like you're in the military, right? So like if you had a gun, you'd be running with that, right?
Okay.
But anyway,
right.
Distraction for me, I always cover up treadmills. I don't want to see the time. I don't want that kind of thing. I think that the intelligence of having this double controller thing that could fit on any device, I think that's brilliant. I just love the way these guys think out of the box when it comes to just what kind of thing you should be able to do while you're playing. It's not just controllers anymore. It's like you can do this on a treadmill.
I think it could be distracting from exercise, actually. It depends on the game, right? Like if it's a game where the faster you run, the faster the character goes, great. But there's a lot of fine motor control in some games. And actually in the video that they're showing off, some of the games that they show off, like try moving and doing all these other things and then finely turning inside the video game to make whatever you need to do happen. At that point, if you're so sucked into the game, you'll stop moving in real time so that you can actually pass the level potentially. I don't know, that could be kind of distracting.
See, people should just stick to listening to podcasts while they work out. Like the guy right now that's working out listening to this. Keep on, man. Keep on. A couple more reps.
Yeah, don't slow down.
Almost there.
Come
Keep
on.
going.
I saw that.
You can do it. You're the best. You're a rock star. Okay, time for the rest.
You know what's so fun? Watching cops while running. I'm just going to throw that out there and thank me later. It's the best.
Well, you're like behind you, like you're looking back.
You mean the TV show, right?
It's right in front of you. It makes you feel so good about yourself. You're just like, I'm running, I'm healthy. You're going to jail.
Oh, I just wondered if you were like thinking, can you run faster than the criminal? Like I can outrun him.
But they never outrun the cops.
See, that's my kind of workout. I run when chased.
It's just a great show, really, whether you're running or not.
The show, right? Makes sense. Let's fire up the randomizer. Hey, we got a straw poll today, and 42% of the folks in the live audience wanted us to talk about fully functional loudspeakers being 3D printed as submitted by Sandman on the subreddit. These are researchers at Cornell. It's a project led by Apurva Karan and Robert McCurdy, graduate students in mechanical engineering, working with Hod Lipson. He's an associate professor of mechanical and aerospace engineering. And what they were able to do is 3D print a speaker. So both the plastic cone and the wire coil and the magnetic parts all printed using a proprietary printer from their lab. Well, it's not proprietary, it's actually open, but it's a printer that they actually developed in his lab called Fab at Homes, a customizable research printer. And they had to use 3 different takes at it. They don't have it all with all the nozzles for the 3 different materials in one printer at the same time, but they're saying, look, just because we moved it from one printer to the other, we were very careful to move it in such a way that you could create a printer that would have all 3 nozzles and it would work. They were able to still just layer everything on and make a working loudspeaker.
How's it sound?
It's a little tinny, I'll be honest. If you skip to the end of that video, you could probably hear the test because I think they have it right near the end. Yeah, they're taking it out of the, after they let it set, after it came out of printing.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty tinny, but still very cool.
Yeah, and the idea that you could have multiple materials being 3D printed so that you could just print an entire device at once without having to build it, that's pretty compelling.
Couple this with the device that I saw at the Metrics Create Space in Seattle, where basically hackers can put in like a PCB and it does like the pick and pull and it burns everything. It does the traces. Like there are some fantastic machines in the Fab Labs, and the fact that they're just becoming more and more accessible is awesome, because you're right, it's more than just like printing a little plastic doodad. Like we're going to make stuff that does a thing.
Yeah, it's the replicator. The promise of the replicator right there. Pretty amazing. All right, we're getting close to the holidays. Things are slowing down, but I think we still have one thing on the calendar.
Yes, let's look ahead to April of 2014, shall we? Microsoft has scheduled its Build Developer Conference for April 2nd. Put it on your cal, dude.
Done.
Lately, Build has had some news come out of it, too, so it's worth keeping an eye on that. See what they talking about Surface. We might even have a new Microsoft CEO by then. Who knows? Let's see if we got any emails.
Incoming message.
Yeah, what show would be complete without an email from Rich in lovely Cleveland?
Trifecta.
There we go. So he says, Tom and Posse, easy way to sell the pad phone in the U.S. Get the carriers to bundle it on contract, sell it for $400 to $500. You get a phone and a tablet. I can see this being an easy sell in the store. The problem for the pad phone comes after that. The issue in my eyes is that the phone is a personal item, whereas a tablet generally is a shared device, something you keep around the living room for whoever wants it. The pad phone makes no distinction on this and totally monopolizes both uses. This is essentially problematic for parents. I don't think this would impede initial sales because it makes for a really good in-store demo. It's really cool and futuristic looking to just plug your phone in a tablet and go. If ASUS wants to sell these in the US, they have to push the value angle, even if you're not quite getting the full functionality of both devices.
I hadn't thought about that. I don't think of the tablet as a shared item. Do you guys, though?
What do you mean?
Like, I don't think he's saying what Rich is proposing here is that the phone is a personal item, but the tablet is shared. And so having the phone and the tablet together causes a disconnect there. I don't think of my tablet as a shared item.
I definitely don't. But
you know, I have a family. Like, yes, I have kids. So
there you go.
And only one of them
difference right there
is of tablet age.
You give them old tablets. I mean, what are you talking about? You
I
give
guess
one
so.
Kindle
But you know what?
Fire,
We have
one
multiple
Nexus.
tablets, and she'll use whatever tablet she can get her grubby hands on. So, yes, it's a shared item.
When you're only this big, I mean, a phone seems like a tablet anyway.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, she'll take the phone too. She doesn't discriminate.
It's a very personal
technology.
item.
She's
taking it from you.
Yeah, I'm not saying Rich is wrong, because I know there would be people who think that, especially people with kids. So good point, Rich. Triple crown on the emails there. Also, congratulations. Well, that's it for this episode of Tech News Today. Darren Kitchen, are you still hacking around America?
I am. Well, I'm hacking around LA right now, but I've got to get back to the point. I got to get back to the Bay Area, where we're building out a mesh network using pineapples. We're doing some point-to-point connections. It's really fun because we're using some little FCC loopholes here where we can create, like, 60-watt connections, and it's a lot of fun. So look forward to that. And then next week we have drone attacks. Pineapples in the sky taking down drones.
Pineapple being the Wi-Fi device that you guys sell, in case people people think it's fruit.
It could be.
It could be.
Could be.
I love the smell of pineapple in the morning, Darren.
Me too.
Smells like hacking. HAK5.org. Go check it out. And, of course, the moment I've been waiting for, Len Peralta, what have you drawn to go along with our stories this episode?
Well, this week there are a ton of images. Some of them are a little bit more abstract than others, but I think they're a lot of fun. First story, the Twitter block. First thing I thought of was just a like a ninja master there, just saying block. So I don't know. That's kind of a fun one. Formerly Intel Inside, these Google chips. I think kind of personifying what the Intel looks like and putting the chips inside of it, or a PC actually I should say, and putting the chips inside of it. Yeah, exactly. Google chips. Those are going to be on your shelf soon. At Amazon Pantry. This one was kind of strange. The images on Google, the first thing I thought of was the cache was too full. So there's too many images, the cache is too full, I'm going to puke. So there you go with that one. Pirate Bay. Of course, everyone loves torrenting. Ahoy, Peru, I've got the return of Smaug for you.
I read, welcome to Perv.
Oh, no, well, yeah, I can change that quickly. That's not. Let's see. There we go.
There we go.
That's better.
This, the Pantry. This is I went a little bit of different take with this. This is the adventures of the guy who mishears everything. So he thought it was an Amazon panty raid.
He said pantry. Pantry.
Exactly. Listen correctly. You put your listening ears on. And finally, I don't know how I feel about this Goji. I am, I think it would be a little bit of fun, but here's a guy who just doesn't know if it's supposed to be fun or if he's supposed to be killing himself.
Is that Ayaz?
It looks just like me.
It might be.
Yeah, Ayaz's tongue is in fact that long.
Yeah.
So, yes, obviously.
Not touching that joke.
Well, folks, if you enjoy Len's art, by all means, get the video podcast and check it out. Or you can own it. peraltartsy.myshopify.com.
Or I changed the name to lenperaltastore.com.
Oh, that works too.
That's easier to
Just
remember.
go there as well. Oh, and one more thing. For any TNT listeners that happen to be in the Philadelphia area tomorrow, I will be in Philadelphia at Liberty Lands Park drawing for Krampuslav.
Ooh,
so
cool.
Come out and see me. I'll be there drawing in the 20-degree weather outside, trying to stay warm. So come by and say hello if you're in the Philadelphia area.
I think if you go to lenperaltastore.com, you can order copies of 10 State, the comic book, as well.
That's right. They're available now. They just came in and they will be shipping next week. So go to 10 State, and it's the comic that Tom and I worked on together.
Thank you, Len. Don't forget, folks, you can have a voice in what stories we select on the show. Go to our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com, and submit your story, and we'll look at it. And it's one of the things we look at when we put together our lineup every day. Also, email us, tnt@twit.tv. Give us a call, leave us a voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. We want to hear from you. And, of course, visit the website, get the show notes, subscription links, and all of that at twit.tv/TNT. We'll be back on Monday with Ken Denmead as our guest. See you then.